Greetings! In today's video, I will be taking a look at a beautiful set of brushes from MEEDEN and also at their watercolor postcards. MEEDEN regularly comes up with new products, new items, and it's always really interesting to try them out. For today, I have this set of 9 brushes that are on a Quill model. You can get all kinds of sizes of brushes, but generally Quills will be a lot bigger than what you'd expect looking at the number of the brush. For example, the brushes I have here go from size 1 to size 9. As you can probably just see right away, they are much bigger than a regular round brush, size 1 through 9. The brushes are available in a set of 4 brushes or 9 brushes, like the one I have. They were available as single brushes or open stock, but at the time of me recording this option is no longer available. They are really nice. They're made of synthetic Squirrel. They seem to have a transparent plastic wrapping and then metal wires holding everything in place. The handle is really nice and smooth as well. It is made of wood that is kept to its natural look. It is not painted over or stained. And you have the size and the branding on the handle. Pretty straightforward. The smallest size, the brush that is size 1, is similar in size to a round brush that would be size 6 or 8. So it is quite a large, small brush. These are very nicely packaged. Each brush has a cap on its bristle, and then the whole thing is in a tube that has a cap on each end of the tube, and then all the tubes are put in the box, so they are really safe in there. Even if the tubes lose some of their caps, like mine did, the brushes are still protected. If you want to have a way to travel with this brush somewhat safely, you can put it back in the tube, and as long as you keep it upright, you should be fine to travel with this brush. Now, the postcards. What I have here is 2 sets of postcards. Actually, they're the same, but they can come in sets of 1 pack, 2 packs, or 3 packs. Here I have the pack of 2. These are 4 by 6 inches in size. They're hot press paper made from 100% cotton, and they are the sort of average standard weight for watercolor paper, which is 300 GSM, or I think it's about 140 pounds. They come in this really nice craft paper packaging with a string closure, but I noticed a little issue with that. The eyelets that keep the closure in place made an imprint on the watercolor paper. It's those little round marks on the sheet of paper. For one of the pack, it transferred to the 2 top sheets. For the other pack, only the first sheet had the marks on them, but it's a bit annoying. I feel like in this case, perhaps having a buffer sheet would have been a good idea, or perhaps finding a different way to attach the closure to the envelope could have also worked, because this is the kind of item that is for sure going to have some pressure on it. I think it's somewhat inevitable that if you have this kind of metal eyelet closure, you're going to have a print on the paper as well. I will be using these sheets for testing out colors and swatches, so I don't mind it all that much, but it might be possible to just paint on the paper regardless. There's a chance that the marks won't affect your painting. It's still an issue that could have been prevented. For the brushes, I took them out of their packaging and I went and loosened the bristles. They are usually glued with gum arabic or some sort of water-soluble gum, and I know that on their images they say to loosen the protective coating by hand, but I would advise against that. Instead, I would recommend that you don't force or don't break the coating. You first dip your brush in water and you let the water soften it, and when it's softened enough that it kind of comes apart with minimal pressure, then you're good to go. There's always a chance of messing up the hair if you are not careful, so I think it's, in this case, perhaps a better idea to be careful and avoid any issues with the bristles. What I did for these is that I took out some paper that I had that is made for practicing calligraphy. It's this sort of paper that you just use water on it and it becomes really dark where you put the water, but eventually the water evaporates, it dries out, and you can reuse the paper again. I thought that this would be a really fun way to test out brushes without having to load them up with pigment. In the case of really big brushes, it can be a bit of a hassle to remove all the pigment from the brush, so I think this might be a good way to go about it. Let me know what you think of this idea. The brushes performed really well. I really don't have anything bad to say. Proportional proportional to their sizes. They hold a lot of water. Of course, the big brushes held a lot of water and the smaller ones held less water, but it's proportional, so that makes sense. They have a really nice softness to the bristles. You can see that they can go from thin to relatively thick very smoothly. However, they don't spring back right away. You kind of have to go a bit slowly if you want them to shape back and to give you that diminishing shape without any holes in it. I still think that these are not as soft as real squirrel hair, which is fine by me. I much prefer the relative softness of the synthetic stuff. But yeah, you can really see that it starts from small and broadens up nicely, but then it doesn't recover quickly when you lift it up. I really like them. I think they have a really nice point. Even the bigger ones, they kept a really nice point, which is great for details. And the handles are also really nice. They're really smooth. They're really fun to hold, and they're not too small, because when the handles are really small, it can lead to having hand cramps. I wanted to test out the brushes and the postcards, so what I did is I took out my beautiful wooden pochade box from MEEDEN and I decided to paint a little drawing on one of the postcards. It worked really well. I really don't have anything bad to say. It went very smoothly. I used the smaller brushes because I draw relatively small and the postcards are also somewhat small, so I felt like going for a really large brush wasn't a good fit for my type of art and the surface I was using. But yeah, it was very smooth, very effortless. I didn't have to fight the paper, I didn't have to fight the brushes. Everything worked out really well, and I'm very happy with both of these supplies. I feel like the postcards are really fun. The little decorative frame is really nice. It's not overwhelming, but it adds a little something, and I feel like it's perhaps a good item if you want to have handmade Christmas cards or place cards or any kind of cards. They don't have the postcard print on the back as an actual postcard would, but I don't really mind that. I feel like I can add that by hand if I need it. Otherwise, these are really nice, like I said, for gifting, and since the holidays are coming up, this is a pretty good thing to have around in case you need a card at the last minute. I really like the paper. I'll be interested in testing out this paper a bit more. It performed really well. If you are curious about any of these, I'll have links in the description. You can go and check it out in more details. If you have any questions, you can ask in the comments. I will reply. And again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was interesting in some way. Let me know what you think in the comments. And also a big thank you to MEEDEN for sending me these postcards and these brushes to try out, and also the lovely palette. If you're curious about the palette, I have a whole video just about the palette, so link will be in the description for that as well. Thank you so much for watching. See ya all in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.